To little surprise, Rui Hachimura was the fifth starter. If you guys had been listening, I predicted that going into camp. Then once there was the LeBron setback, there's a little less clarity. But anytime I've talked about it, just in an NBA TV interview today, they asked me what my prediction was for the starting group. I said Rui. Like that had been what I've been hearing. That had just been reading the tea leaves, like the way this was trending. So a little surprised that it was Rui. JJ said pregame that this was the group he had anticipated being the starting group going into the training camp, going into the preseason. One of my favorite things is tweeting out the starting group. It's one of my pregame routines, and it's fair to say the fan base crashed out, at least on X, about this starting lineup, and I understand it because I did not agree with it. Like I've been on record, I've been pro Marcus starting since the summer. I made a podcast episode about it. I did social videos about it. I've been singing the gospel of Marcus should be the fifth guy. He balances the other four players much better. And, so early returns with the starting group were not very promising. I will acknowledge that. And I think you have to acknowledge, like, this was not the best matchup for LA's defense in the sense of you have a young, athletic, big team that shoots a lot of threes and moves very well off the ball. There are not many teams that check that number of boxes that will test the Lakers in this way. That this was a unique matchup to some degree, right? Like there are not many teams that play like Golden State and Utah. Now, teams that do play that way, I think, have a certain advantage against LA's defense. But in terms of, so starting group starts down 16-6, then Marcus comes in for LeBron, and then they are +3. I did some quick math going through the play-by-play. They were -10, 5 minutes, +3, 2 minutes, and then I believe they were +1 in the 5 minutes in the third quarter. So overall, they played 12 minutes and they were -6 as a group against, if we're being honest, like a lottery level team. Like I think Utah's had an impressive start to the season, and they are better than I think people assumed. Like many people had them as the worst team in the West, and I think they're better than Sacramento and New Orleans, and maybe even the Clippers and Grizzlies. Like we'll see how the season progresses. Probably not. They're probably the third best team in the West, but like the Lakers defense got shredded, and I do. Like LeBron had some good moments defensively, particularly as a playmaker. He had a steal. He had a couple of nice deflections, and he is capable of making those pick six reads where not necessarily even for himself, but then it'll be someone else leaks in transition, and then he hits them, and Lakers get an easy basket, which I believe his steal led to, might have been an Austin transition basket. But I just think looking at that group, and especially with how much the Lakers switch, you're going to have guys like on the one hand, you can look at it a couple ways, right? Like you can look at it as if you're switching, that negates having the better perimeter defender out there, which is part of the reason why I think Vando has been squeezed from the rotation. But on the other hand, I think switching as much as the Lakers do, then that you're going to have guys at different spots on the floor, right? Like you're going to have cross matchups. You're going to have guys in different scenarios. So then I think it actually matters more. How good of a team defender are you? How good are you at defending other situations? And I think just seeing Marcus only got a few minutes with the starters. He did check in for Rui for a couple minutes midway through the third. Rui was the first sub. JJ made that adjustment. But I just think it was a night and like he comes in, he immediately gets a deflection, then gets like another near steal that they called a foul that I thought was a pretty weak foul call. Like he's pressuring the ball. Yes, Keontae George got him a little bit, but he got everybody tonight. And I just thought there was a clear difference in like the defensive impact between Rui and Marcus. And of course, we know Marcus is a better defender, but like, based on how lifeless the Lakers starting group was defensively for most of its tenure together tonight, I just think it like there's nothing I saw tonight that changed my opinion about the starting group. If anything, I felt there was just further confirmation that I don't think the starting group is going to work against good offenses. I think good offenses, if you are like a league average defense and a good offense, I think you're probably going to win the minutes against the starting group, which projects as an elite offense, but a bad defense. So I think like, again, one reference point, I don't want to overreact to one game, but I do think like we've started to see how these pieces work together. And I think most of my concerns with this starting group were on display for their tenure against Utah's starting group. And, you know, the offense certainly progressively, like it got better progressively throughout the game, but that also often featured bench players entering and there being a little bit more of a two-way balance. So I just think something to monitor. I asked JJ about it after the game of just what his impressions were with the starting group and like this being the unit that he had anticipated for so long and like finally seeing it, like just what did he think? And to be honest, I don't think he liked my question. I think I tried to remove any bias or like perspective from the question, but I feel like he took it, you know, maybe he knows, I don't know, maybe he listens to Buha's block, maybe he's tuned in right now. But maybe he knows like some of the pushback against the starting group or my at least pushback against the starting group. And he kind of knew what, you know, where I was going with the question, even though I didn't go there with it. But so I felt he got a little defensive if you watch his press conference and I had the final question, but he did ultimately say like, there were some really good stretches. There were some really bad stretches. And he's not opposed to like eventually changing the group. So I think that's the way this probably has to trend. And, you know, they're going to get the rematch against Utah. So we'll see what that looks like on Sunday. They'll have 3 days of practice leading into that. But, you know, it's a bit of an easy stretch here for LA to kind of pad the net rating or the plus minus with the starters. I just think for this group to be a serious contender, you need a better fit defender in the starting group.